Anti-Semitic incidents hit a record high last year in the United States.
The surge in hate crimes aimed at Jews are disturbing, to say the least.
In the political context today, there is no doubt that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism.
In the since removed post, West said that he, quote, was going DEFCON 3 on the Jewish people.
Every day we see evidence that racially motivated hate crimes are on the rise across our country.
President Biden today condemning the attack, saying the Justice Department is investigating it as a, quote, racially motivated act of white supremacy and violent extremism.
We are living in an extraordinary and turbulent time. As incidents of anti-Semitism and hate recorded by ADL reach record highs, we face daily threats of extremist violence, relentless hate speech and intimidation online, on campuses, and in places of worship, and outright attacks on our democracy.
No democracy, which is a healthy democracy, can afford to have anti-Semitism in its midst.
Every day, the safety of our communities is in question.
We were very much fearful for our life.
We know that the plots of tomorrow, the threats of tomorrow, are being hatched online today.
But even in these troubling times, each of us has the power and the responsibility to drive change and to fight anti-Semitism and hate for good.
Thanks to the hard work of advocates and community leaders, California is poised to take a major step forward in addressing the harms of social media.
That is why we are here today, to join together, to speak out.
We cannot let comments, words, phrases, insinuations that are anti-Semitic in nature go unchecked as a society.
And take bold action.
Adidas has cut off Kanye West.
We were able to get thousands of letters. We engaged with the leadership. This does send a strong statement that there are consequences when you express anti-Semitism and any form of hate.
To prove that we will not be deterred by hate.
Our goal here is to lead by example and inspire every American in their own little way to stand for love, to stand against bigotry, hatred, dehumanization.
We will unite.
Your leadership is absolutely essential in this battle.
We will act.
Every one of us can contribute by the way we treat other people. Every one of us has a role to play.
And together, in the face of anti-Semitism and all forms of bias, we will say never again. And never is now. Our fight continues now.
Please welcome to the stage our hosts, co-anchor of ABC News Nightline, Juju Chang, and moderator, journalist, and author, Abigail Pogrebin.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Abby Pogrebin, and welcome back to the largest summit on anti-Semitism and hate. Never is now. We are so glad to have you all here in the room, and hello to the thousands of others joining us virtually from across the globe.
And truly, welcome back. We are here in the flesh, and we're so glad you're here, joining us as we fight hate for good. I'm Juju Chang, and along with Abby, I am thrilled to be back hosting. You look different this year. You're 3D. You're in the flesh. And I really want to commend each and every one of you for showing up today. That is half the battle. It's so easy, as we know, to become numb to the reports of rising anti-Semitism and hate and the terrifying accounts of attacks across our democracy. Yet today, you chose action over hopelessness, and you showed up so that together we can say, when it comes to hate, enough is enough.
Indeed. Showing up is critical by itself. Sometimes we underestimate the impact of visible numbers and voices, not to mention the potential for lasting impact when we act together. And of course, a constant catalyst in the fight against hate is the organization that unites us all here today, ADL. ADL's commitment to its mission to stop the defamation of the Jewish people and to secure justice and fair treatment to all continues to be as critical today as it was when it was written over 100 years ago.
And I'm sure we're all news junkies, right? I'm in the news, so I expect that. But it's been impossible to watch the news these days and not see ADL's presence, ADL's vigilance, and ADL's impact. I'm pretty sure that Jonathan Greenblatt doesn't sleep. He is out there fighting the heightened ugliness directed towards the Jewish people. We saw reports of ADL leading the charge, calling out Kanye, Twitter, Kyrie, election disinformation. And in just a few minutes, you're going to hear directly from ADL's CEO, Jonathan Greenblatt. And now, since we will be able to be together the whole day, we want you to connect a little bit. We want you to do a little icebreaker to meet your fellow attendees and bring some energy back into the room. So we know this is not a shy crowd. So we're going to ask you to turn to the person next to you. It's like shul. Introduce yourself, share a fun fact, and tell each other, don't wish Shabbat Shalom, that's for tomorrow. And learn a little something. So Abby, you kick it off. You start.
Well, thank you for putting me on the spot. We don't talk in shul. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, I'm going to model this ice-breaking thing we're all going to do together. Hi, Juju.
Hi, Abby.
Wait, not yet. I'm modeling. Hi, Juju. I'm Abby, and here's a fun fact about me. 3 fun facts. I'm an identical twin. I like country music. I don't know if I should admit that. And I like my matzo brie with sour cream. I don't know if that's controversial. And as for what I hope to learn and leave with today, I would say I'm looking forward to the panel about the power of storytelling to address anti-Semitism, because I've seen how stories can wake us up and clarify misconceptions. And I also plan to check out the Action Center. It's not just a slogan, it's a place that you can go, and you have to stop by because they're going to have amazing ideas for all of us, and I personally sometimes miss the symbols of hate that should be reported. Your turn, Juju.
Sure.
Tell us about yourself.
Kick off the matzo brie controversy. Go ahead. I'm Juju Chang. I became a pandemic gardener and a TikTok-inspired chef. Not a particularly good one, but I, too, am the mom of 3 boys. They say they are 50% Korean and 100% Jewish. It's their tagline. And I, too, am really looking forward to some of these sessions where we're going to talk about, for example, students confronting anti-Semitism on campus. 2 of my sons are now in college, and it's something we talk about a lot. And that's how this little exercise works. So we want you to take a minute, literally a minute, because the clock is going to hit, and it's your turn to meet your neighbor. Go. Okay, we should carry this off.
Where's the time?
Carrie, let's go take pictures.
Okay. You all, this is wonderful energy. And how would I get you all shh? Let's come back into the room. Thank you all for taking that assignment so seriously. Shh. As we say in yoga, let's come back on our mats. I hope you made a friend and feel close to each other. And now, without further ado, we have an incredible lineup of experts and speakers and panels today. We will hear about the unvarnished realities of anti-Semitism right now, how ADL is confronting it very concretely, and what you can do to get involved. You won't want to miss a minute of this opening session, including remarks from FBI Director Christopher Wray, a fireside chat about anti-Semitism and free speech on campus, Adidas North American President Rupert Campbell, I got to meet him backstage, on how Adidas is fighting anti-Semitism and hate, and we're going to get greetings from truly fearless international leaders.
I'm so glad everyone broke so much ice out there. I really and truly believe, I say this to Jonathan Greenblatt all the time, that convening power is a superpower, and that's why we're here. But first, please welcome to the stage the Mayor of New York City, the Honorable Eric Adams.
Thank you so much. I am so pleased to join you all at the Anti-Defamation League's Never Is Now conference. And I know somewhere out there is my good friend, Devorah Haberstein, who has talked about this for so many years. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background and religion. People must learn to hate. Nelson Mandela wrote these words in 1994 in his autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom, and he could have been talking about today. Anti-Semitism is on the rise in America, and unfortunately, it has become normalized. It has become mainstream. It is fueled by misinformation and conspiracy theories and amplified by social media. And it is given a platform by misguided celebrities, athletes, notable people, and former presidents and politicians. People are learning to hate again. This month, the FBI issued a statement that synagogues in New Jersey were under threat. And I want to thank FBI Director Christopher Wray, who is here, and the FBI for committing to protect our Jewish community and all Americans. We also saw anti-Semitic signs flown over a freeway in LA as people performed the Nazi salute. And anti-Semitic messages were shown in public spaces in Jacksonville, Florida, including at a college football game. All of these incidents occurred because anti-Semitic troops and beliefs were promoted by famous people. Last year, we saw the highest number of anti-Semitic incidents on record in the United States. This is the uncomfortable truth about hate in our society. It is being normalized and it is being spread from one community to the next. Lies about COVID-19 led to attacks on our Asian American brothers and sisters. Conspiracy theories about stolen elections led to the January 6th insurrection and violence against politicians and their families. Denials about the Holocaust and belief in the replacement theory fueled extremist rallies like the one we saw in Charlottesville. Anti-Semitism and extremism must not be ignored. It must be confronted. It must be called out. I know the last few weeks have been tense for the Jewish community here and across the nation. Many of you are feeling fear and anxiety, no matter where you live. Let me be clear. Hatred and anti-Semitism will not be tolerated in New York City. No one should ever feel threatened walking down the street or traveling on the subway. No one should ever feel threatened walking into their synagogue or their house of worship. This is personal for me. Over the years, I've worked closely with the Jewish community and with many of you. I often say that New York is the Tel Aviv of America. And we know the power, influence, and the love and compassion of the Jewish community here. New York City is home to the largest Jewish community in the nation. And as mayor, I take that responsibility very seriously. Public safety is my administration's highest priority. I want you to know we will continue to protect all communities with every resource necessary. We will prosecute hate crimes to their full extent, and we must reach our young people with anti-bias education so we can address hate at its root causes. Above all, we will not remain silent. We will push back against this rise in anti-Semitism. The memories of those who perished during the Holocaust sustains us. The courage and resiliency of our survivors inspire us to act. I want to thank Jonathan and the Anti-Defamation League for the work you are doing to combat all forms of hate. My mother once said, if you find yourself in a dark place, you make the determination if that dark place is a burial or a planting. And while it may seem that we're in a dark place right now, we can make this a time of planting. Let's rededicate ourselves to defeating all forms of anti-Semitism. Let's rededicate ourselves to educating generations about the horrors of the past. Let's rededicate ourselves to acting when we see injustices take place. Together, we can ensure that never is now. Thank you very much.
Please welcome to the stage Chair of the Board of Directors of ADL, Ben Sachs.
Cannot believe I didn't get to do an icebreaker with Mayor Adams. Well, but I will thank you, Mayor Adams. We are grateful for all that you do and all that the city does to fight anti-Semitism and hate. So hello, I'm Ben Sachs, Chair of the ADL Board of Directors. I am super excited about the program that we've put together for you today. I really want to start off by giving you a huge thank you. Thank you for showing up. This is really amazing. Thanks for taking time out of your busy lives to join us, either here in person or the thousands that have registered virtually. And today is going to be an extraordinary day of listening, learning, and conversation. We are living through a moment in history that is as fraught as it is frightening. You may not know this, but in addition to our national office in New York, ADL has 25 regional offices across the country. The work and the reach that ADL staff delivers on the ground each and every day is just phenomenal. When I became chair, I set a goal to amplify that work, but not by myself, by empowering volunteers, people like you. We are living in a world that is super complicated, with relentless 24-hour news cycle, troubling headlines daily, and the misinformation we see perpetuated on social media and cable news. It can be overwhelming. It can leave you feeling helpless. But here's the good news. You're not helpless. You can learn the facts. You can educate those in your world in a calm but direct way. You can advocate for truth and for what you know is right. In fact, it is of paramount importance that you do all of these things when you leave today. So I have a challenge for you today. As you listen to our speakers and participate in breakouts, I want you to ask questions. I want you to learn. And ultimately, I want you to speak out. Each one of us can be an ambassador for change. Each one of us can shine a light on hate and anti-Semitism and lift up for those who are fighting for it. I challenge you to ask yourself after each speaker, after each session that you attend, how can I share this message? How will I talk about this with my friends, with my family, and in my networks? This is what it means to be an ambassador for change. Commit yourself to making a difference. Your voice is so important. And let me tell you one more thing. When you're taking action, when you're actually doing the work, it feels pretty amazing. I truly believe you will be inspired by what you hear today. We have unbelievable speakers. And when you leave, be empowered to speak out. We are in this thing together, and only together we can make a meaningful change. Our past, our future, and our children and grandchildren's lives depend on it. And I have to say, I've never, ever been as proud to be a part of the ADL. And I literally believe there is never been a moment when our voices matter more. So thank you for being here, and thank you in advance for all you're going to do when you leave here today. And remember, never is now, and now matters more than ever. It is my great pleasure to introduce my friend, ADL CEO and National Director, Jonathan Greenblatt.
Thank you, Ben, for that kind introduction and for your leadership. You know, as ADL CEO, I find myself on TV now and then. And the other day, I was on a morning news show, and the host turned to me and said, "Jonathan, I looked at your Twitter feed, and I was stunned by the amount of ugly anti-Semitism directed at you." And I replied, "Welcome to my world." But it's no longer my world. More and more, it's our world. Because you see, something has changed. Something definitely has changed. We have political candidates who disparage their opponents as elitists or globalists or as different than regular Americans. We have entertainers with messiah complexes spewing anti-Jewish hate, obscenely comparing themselves to real-world martyrs. We have trending movies on our major streaming platforms that are little more than the kind of propaganda that Goebbels would lovingly approve. And this isn't happening in a normal environment. Anti-Semitism is indisputably on the rise. ADL tracked a 34% increase in anti-Jewish acts in 2021. That was the highest number we've ever seen in more than 40 years of doing this work. We're recording acts of harassment, vandalism, and violence every single day in Brooklyn, but also increasingly in non-Jewish neighborhoods in New York City and across the country. And of course, it's happening online in ways you can't even imagine. This past week was Election Day. ADL was monitoring more than 100 extremists, right-wing extremists, who ran for office this cycle, including a number who proudly, openly identified as Christian nationalists, but who, of course, say they love the Jewish state. We also have hardened anti-Zionists currently sitting in the House of Representatives, but who, of course, insist they love the Jewish people. Let me be clear. Both of these camps have exclusionary worldviews, and many of you are the people who they seek, not just to exclude, but to intimidate, to marginalize, and harm. Look, I could spend the rest of the day detailing just the anti-Semitic incidents that ADL has tracked at college campuses from coast to coast, from small liberal arts schools to huge public universities, simply over the past few months. But it didn't just start this past month. or this past year. In 2017, we watched men march in Charlottesville, and ADL sounded the alarm. In 2018, we mourned in Pittsburgh and hoped for change. In 2019, we paid respects in Poway, in Jersey City, in Muncie, and called for action. And in 2020, we marched in Brooklyn and cried for attention. And in 2021, we witnessed attacks in broad daylight across America, and we pleaded for help. But today, the time of cries and pleas, it's over. That moment has passed. Because you see, this is no longer a situation of concern. This is a state of emergency. Anti-Semitic acts literally have tripled in the past 6 years, and unfortunately, I see no reason to believe that number might not triple again over the next 6. And this isn't just about the Jews. It is increasingly clear to me, and I think many others, that anti-Semitism is not just the oldest hatred. It's not just the most vile conspiracy theory. Anti-Semitism is a caustic agent that corrodes democracies. It's a sign of societal decay. And so, indeed, while it threatens Jews in the most literal sense, it endangers our nation, and it threatens all places where it takes root. But I know you know this. That's why you're here at Never Is Now. But I know you're also here because you want to understand, so what are we going to do about it? How can we be safe? Safe in our synagogues, safe on our campuses, safe in our very homes. How can we lead fully Jewish lives without feeling scared? Unfortunately, this is the question of our time. And frankly, it's the sole reason ADL was created. And in this moment, faced with this state of emergency, ADL will rise to the challenge and deliver on our core purpose, protecting the Jewish people. And if you're watching, sitting here at the Javits Center or watching at home on the live stream, whether or not you're Jewish, let me be clear. This is not just about saving the Jewish community. Ultimately, it's about saving our country. So how will we do it? How will we achieve safety? I'll make the case today that we are going to do it through a mix of security and solidarity. Let me explain what I mean by that. In terms of security, ADL will continue to fight the battle downstream where acts happen, securing our community in the synagogues where our families pray, in the schools where our kids learn, in the homes where our seniors reside, and in the online spaces where our children and so many of us socialize and spend so much of our lives. However, security is not just about making sure that those buildings have strong locks or the best alarms, even though ADL fought for record funding for the federal nonprofit security grant program this past year, and we will continue to do so. Security is also about disrupting anti-Semitism and violence before it ever reaches our doors. It's about taking risks to get to where the threat is heading. You see, I believe we as a community need to stop responding solely to symptoms. We need to start dealing with the disease itself. To paraphrase Wayne Gretzky, this means that it's time we skate to where the puck is going. And in this case, we need to go upstream. Earlier this week, ADL announced a partnership with BBYO, the world's leading Jewish teen movement. Together, ADL and BBYO will train 70,000 Jewish teens in 700 plus chapters around the country and in 49 other countries across the world. Our goal is to prepare our children before they ever get to the college campus on how to deal with anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. And I am so excited about what ADL and BBYO will do together. And the next upstream frontier is engaging businesses, making sure they don't back anti-Semites just to chase a buck. And to illustrate this, let me tell you a story about the ADL, Kanye West, and Adidas. As we all watched in recent weeks, the world-famous Kanye West unleashed torrents of anti-Jewish hate, both online and offline, on social media and in interviews. And as that happened, ADL, we do what we do, we sprang into action. Our researchers tracked how Kanye was cheered by extremists, from the Nation of Islam to the Proud Boys to neo-Nazi leaders. And many brands, like Balenciaga and Gap, MRC, creative artists, many others, said that Kanye's values weren't their own. And as he unraveled, they cut ties. In many cases, they took losses of millions of dollars because of those decisions. But Adidas was silent. So I called the chairman of Adidas, and he gave me a list of reasons as to why he couldn't act. Now look, I've worked at some big companies. I get the politics, and I understand the pressure. So I told him, hey, we will work with you, and we will praise you if and when you do the right thing. But until you do, ADL will hammer you as hard as we can. I hung up the phone, and I knew to get that done wasn't about me or us. We had to turn to all of you. Adidas needed to hear directly from the people who buy their shoes and wear their workout clothes. So ADL launched a campaign, #RunAwayFromHate, to use social media to raise awareness of their inertia. And almost 20,000 of you directly lobbied the company. You posted, you tweeted, you emailed, you clicked, and you helped. First, the media took notice, and stories started to spread about their inaction. Then the markets took notice. Adidas' stock price dropped 23% over the month, and then Adidas took notice. Instead of just keeping their relationship with Kanye West under review, they put it on ice and terminated it. And look, while I wish they had done it sooner, Adidas, to their credit, made it abundantly clear that they would not do business with bigots. And today I am so pleased that they're here at Never Is Now to announce an incredible commitment that demonstrates their dedication to fighting anti-Semitism, to addressing hate, will last long beyond this moment. And if you haven't noticed, I am styling some very nice new sambas that I bought last night. Adidas made a meaningful step forward at a time when it really matters. But the threats are morphing. They're taking new forms. And we've got to adapt and innovate to meet them. Now, for several decades, there's been a growing movement for public companies to adopt environmental, social, and good governance practices, often known by the shorthand ESG. So what does that mean? It means that companies adopt these so-called ESG policies and steer some of their investments toward a social good, and theoretically avoid investments in companies that do bad things, say that pollute the environment or abuse their workers. Look, I know this field well. Before ESG was fashionable, 2 decades ago, I co-founded Ethos Brands. And we created Ethos Water, a premium bottled water that used a portion of its profits to fund programs that brought clean water to children in need around the world. It worked. Ethos donated millions, and to date, scores of millions of dollars over the years. First as an independent company, now today as a brand wholly owned by Starbucks. And I learned firsthand as an entrepreneur and an executive at Starbucks that you can do well and do good. You can generate financial returns and create social impact, which is the basic contract, if you will, that propels ESG. At the same time, there are some who disagree with ESG. I have friends who tell me that the only purpose of the corporation is to maximize profits for its shareholders. And look, while there are interesting, academic arguments for that position, and people are welcome to disagree, here is something upon which we all can agree. ESG should not be a Trojan horse for anti-Semitism. You may have heard about this happening in recent years. Brands like Ben & Jerry's, who knew when they announced that they would not sell ice cream in the West Bank, it effectively would end their presence in all of Israel. Or agencies like Morningstar, adopting policies that would make doing business with the Jewish state a black mark on their ESG ratings. Or corporations like General Mills, which sold its stake in a joint venture that operates a plant in East Jerusalem after a multi-year campaign against them by activists from the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, also known as BDS. In each of these instances, and more, many more, ADL has been there, sometimes out in front, often behind the scenes, trying to persuade these firms to reverse course. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And look, if it were just a few of these companies, an occasional outlier, you might say, it's not a major issue. Ultimately, though, I believe this is just the tip of the iceberg of what could be a much bigger wave. You see, these BDS activists are trying to hijack the ESG movement. And institutional investors, knowingly or unknowingly, have incorporated this anti-Israel bias into many of their ESG policies. These policies, they target the Jewish state, and to respond to them, we need to call them what they are, anti-Jewish hate. And so for ADL to fulfill our mission of leading the fight against anti-Semitism, we need an upstream strategy to meet the emerging challenge of anti-Israel bias in the corporate world. That's why I am so pleased to announce this morning that ADL is acquiring J-Lens, the leading Jewish values-based investor network in the world. J-Lens is a nonprofit organization with a strong track record in promoting social responsible investing and doing so with Jewish values. Since 2012, Julie Hammerman, the founder and entrepreneur behind J-Lens, and her team, they've been blazing a trail, getting a seat at the table in the shareholder advocacy space. They've been a critical player in preventing anti-Israel forces from taking hold. And now that J-Lens is coming under the ADL umbrella, we will scale up this effort considerably. And so this is the next step in our efforts to go upstream and to stop anti-Semitism, because ADL is the only organization with the expertise, the relationships, as Juju said, the convening power to take this work to scale for maximum impact. And as we go deep on BDS in the boardroom, as a strategy to ensure our security, we must also go wide and bring in allies from within the Jewish community and from far beyond it to join us in this work. Look, since the founding of ADL, we've been deliberate in building bridges, in finding new allies to stop hate and intolerance, because we have always recognized that for Jews to be safe, everyone must be safe. When one community is attacked, that threatens all of us. And that's why security is critical, but solidarity is the other pillar of our work during these perilous times. Our new Embed program within the ADL Center on Extremism invites representatives of other community advocacy groups, such as the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, or GLAAD, and the Asian American Foundation, to place personnel inside ADL, inside our center. By sitting shoulder to shoulder with our experts, other organizations can gain actionable information. We can train them, we can support them, all the while ADL benefits from the unique perspectives and skill sets of these groups. In partnership with our friends from the National Urban League, we recently launched the Community Solidarity and Safety Coalition. I know it's a mouthful, but our goal is to share what we've learned about securing our sacred spaces in the Jewish community with others. After all, there is a lot that a Baptist church or an HBCU or a Sikh Gurdwara or a Hindu temple or a Baha'i center or a Chinese community center can learn from our experience. And we at ADL will do everything in our power to help them. And finally, ADL and the U.S. Conference of Mayors recently organized more than 150 mayors, Democrats and Republicans, and relaunched our Mayor's Compact Against Hate, committing local leaders to stand against bigotry and extremism in all forms. And my hope is that we will expand this group 20x in the years ahead, and we're going to need all of your help to do that. Because you see, whether it's working with mayors, other ethnic and religious communities, sharing what we know, this is real solidarity that enhances and expands our safety and truly creates security for all of us. Now, despite all of this activity and achievement, I think it's fair for those of you sitting in the audience or, again, watching on the live stream to ask, so what can I do? Or what can we do? So let me conclude by sharing some thoughts. First, what you can do, speak out on your own. Those of us who want to take on this fight have the power, I might even say the obligation, to call out hate whenever it happens. Not to wait, but to speak out with moral clarity and be objective and consistent about it. Now that might mean, in all honesty, you might face some awkward moments when you have to call out coworkers or challenge friends or push back on your own partisan allies. I get that that's not easy, but remember, no matter what anyone tells you, there is no right or left in this fight. There's only right and wrong. Second, join ADL's advocacy efforts. There are so many ways to get involved with advocacy. You can do it through one of our 25 regional offices or through our Glass Leadership Institute. We also have ways you can advocate and engage online from the convenience of your laptop or from the palm of your hand with a phone. And as we saw with Adidas, it can make a huge difference. Third, and maybe most important, what can you do? Don't lose hope. We can cultivate hope in so many ways. If you're a Jewish parent, give your children the gift of a Jewish education so they have pride in their people and the knowledge and inner strength to face down the haters. Let me tell you, self-defense starts with self-awareness and self-love. If you're a student, learn about the legacy of those who came before us who inarguably encountered much more difficult obstacles than the ones we face, and who bravely and courageously and ferociously overcame them. And if you're non-Jewish, be prepared to assert yourself as an ally, because our struggle is your struggle. It's America's struggle. And so in the end, to push back against these forces of hate, I believe with every fiber in my being that we need unity inside our multi-ethnic, multiracial, religiously pluralistic, politically diverse Jewish community, as well as unity with the Jewish people from outside our community, from all segments and sectors of society. That is how we will respond and overcome this state of emergency. That is how we will build security and solidarity. That's how we win. So now, let's get to work. Our next speaker is on the front lines of the fight against violent extremism. On an almost weekly basis, our team at the ADL Center on Extremism is in touch with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, sharing information and helping the brave, patriotic men and women of the FBI disrupt violence before it happens. And leading the Bureau, we are blessed to have a director who has demonstrated, against considerable pressure, his independence, his integrity, and his fidelity to the rule of law during these incredibly trying times. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce to you today our friend, our ally, and our partner, the director of the FBI, Christopher Wray.
Well, thank you, Jonathan, and my thanks to everybody at ADL for inviting me here this morning. You know, I've been in this line of work in one way or another for a long time now, starting out as a line prosecutor in the 90s, and then in various roles in the Justice Department, which, among other things, included time overseeing what was then OSI, the Office of Special Investigations, or as they were more commonly known, the Nazi hunters, whose particularly rewarding work demonstrated to the world and anyone who might contemplate heinous crimes against the Jewish people that we're going to hunt murderers right down to their dying days. And I'm proud to say that we helped the U.S. track down, denaturalize, and deport more Nazis than all other countries combined. And much like the work we're doing together today, that effort both required and benefited from a close partnership with the Jewish community. The main reason I took this job was my belief in the FBI's core values and mission to protect the American people and uphold the Constitution. And I think our mission goals gel very well with yours, to stop the defamation of the Jewish people and to secure justice and fair treatment to all. And that's one of the reasons we've been such great partners in fighting to stamp out the recent uptick in hate crimes in the U.S., because both of our organizations understand what can happen when hate is allowed to fester and grow. At the Bureau, we confront that reality from the very moment we bring someone new on board. And I want to thank the ADL today for your support in conducting the training that all of our new special agents and intelligence analysts participate in at the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum. Because of your work, our new agents and analysts confront the reality of just how widespread anti-Semitism and the willingness to turn hate into action really are. Your work reminds our young people what's at stake, why we all, particularly those of us in law enforcement, must aggressively counter anti-Semitic violence everywhere it appears. Our FBI historian recently pulled the course evaluations written by the very first new agent class to visit the Holocaust Museum more than 20 years ago. And I found one of them particularly striking. That new agent, again, a little over 20 years ago, wrote, "The part that lingers in my memory is the photo of the police officer and the German SS officer standing side by side, and the police officer was failing to protect his own citizens." That observation gets to the heart of why standing up to hate is an active pursuit, and it applies now every bit as much as it did back then. It reflects what we stand for and the values we aspire to at the FBI, to protect Americans from harm with unwavering resolve. Unfortunately, as Jonathan outlined, anti-Semitism remains a pervasive and present fact, and we at the FBI see up close, day in and day out, the actions that hatred drives. Jewish people continue to face repeated violence and very real threats from all kinds of actors, simply for being who they are. A full 63% of religious hate crimes are motivated by anti-Semitism, targeting a group that makes up just 2.4% of our population. Foreign terrorist organizations like ISIS and others have promoted anti-Semitic violent extremism for decades, and they continue to target Jewish Americans in their attack plots. But we also confront the threat of people here, on our own soil, whose hateful views, often paraded online, boil over into acts of violence. And there are too many grim examples to choose from, but consider the members of the Jewish community in Poway, California, whose synagogue was the target of domestic terrorism in 2019. The gunman in that attack, in a vile act driven by hatred, murdered one member of the congregation and wounded 3 others, including a rabbi. Thanks to the investigative work of our San Diego field office, he's now serving a life sentence without parole, plus an additional 30 years for good measure. But his victims, their loved ones, and their communities have to live with the trauma of what he did for the rest of their lives, too. The attack at the synagogue in Colleyville, Texas, earlier this year was another tragic example. It happened almost 3 years later and over 1,000 miles away from Poway by a perpetrator who cloaked himself in a different motivation. He referenced violent jihad. But taken together, those 2 attacks, just 2 of far too many, demonstrate the tragic reality that the Jewish community uniquely ends up on the receiving end of hate-fueled attacks from all sides. And I'd venture to say that no community feels more threatened by that boiling over into violence than yours. Now, the threats may be coming from all sides, but we're hitting back at them full force, and we're doing it from multiple FBI programs, both our criminal and counterterrorism divisions that right now are laser-focused on the problem. On the criminal side, we've designated civil rights, specifically including hate crimes, as a national threat priority. That means we've surged more agents and analysts to work those cases across the country. On the counterterrorism front, with the joint terrorism task forces that we have in all 56 of our field offices, we have nearly 4,500 agents and state and local law enforcement partners working counterterrorism. And in 2019, we established the Domestic Terrorism Hate Crimes Fusion Cell, bringing together experts in both. That team addresses the intersection of domestic terrorism and hate crimes, and they share information and resources with our partners in real time. And that Fusion Cell's efforts are already bearing fruit. Just last year, in 2021, Richard Holzer was convicted on both hate crime and explosive charges for plotting to bomb the Temple Emmanuel Synagogue in Pueblo, Colorado. Holzer told undercover agents he wanted to do something that would tell Jewish people in the community they weren't welcome in the town. But thanks to the work of our Fusion Cell, instead, we disrupted his plot before it occurred, and for the first time in recent history, made a proactive arrest on a hate crimes charge. So whether we're confronting the threat through a hate crime or counterterrorism lens, or both, our focus is on preventing violent attacks. And within the bounds of the law, we're creative in how we do that. When tragedy does strike, we move heaven and earth to find those responsible and to help heal the victims, their families, and their community. Much like we did 4 years ago in October, after the horrific attack on the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. We raised our SWAT team, lab, explosive experts, crisis negotiators, and more to the scene. We also remained a fixture for those affected afterward, in the way our victim services response team provided food and clothing, grief counseling, financial assistance, and one-stop shopping for federal resources, but also in our continued engagement with the Pittsburgh Jewish community. I know when I visited the Tree of Life scene and just saw the scene firsthand, I was just struck, not just by the evil done to individuals that day, but to the depth of the wound to the community. and it made me angry. It left me feeling the steel in our commitment to battle hate-fueled violence everywhere it touches Jewish Americans. And it once again left me grateful for your help in bringing our new folks to the Holocaust Museum, because there just can't be enough reminders of what we're up against. Those are some of the things we in the FBI are doing to address the violence. But these threats increasingly require a whole-of-society approach. So we're also raising awareness through our national anti-hate crimes campaign, which aims to educate witnesses and victims on how to identify and report hate crimes. And we've been engaging the public's help, too. That includes community leaders, mental health and social services professionals, faith communities, and civil rights and minority groups. Now, I mentioned that our mission is to protect the American people and to uphold the Constitution, both. And both aspects are equally important. We can't stop people from thinking or saying hateful things, but there is a right way under our Constitution and within the rule of law for someone to express their beliefs, whatever they happen to be, and violence ain't it. So what we can do, and will always do, is bring the full force of the FBI and our partners to bear across the country and in every community when someone threatens or commits violence. We don't let up, and like the Nazi hunters in OSI, our memory is long. We never forget. I'd like to leave off with a famous quote from Hillel, the ancient Jewish scholar. And many of you will be familiar with this, but he wrote, and I quote, "If I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I am only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when?" That teaching goes hand in hand with that photo from the Holocaust Museum I mentioned earlier of the police officer standing next to the SS officer, failing to protect people from harm. Now, I love the FBI because it's a collection of men and women who answered Hillel's question for themselves and underlined their answer by offering their careers, even at the risk of their lives, in service of their purpose. We are for others, for those under threat who need protecting. From the violence and destruction of Kristallnacht in Germany 84 years ago this week to the threats and violence targeting Jewish communities here in the US just across the river last week, we at the FBI recognize that the threat of violent extremism is real and it's urgent. And we devote ourselves every day to protecting the Jewish community and all American people from these heinous acts. And I can assure you, we'll remain relentless. Thank you very much.
Hi, ADL community. I'm Josh Gad. It's important for all of us, especially anyone with a platform, to speak up and share our voices. Last year recorded the highest number of anti-Semitic incidents in the US in decades. The spread of hateful lies and myths about Jewish people are fueling violent rhetoric and acts online and in our communities. Too many of us feel threatened in places we should feel safe, at school, at home, and in our places of worship. But we can do something about it. We must speak out and make our voices heard. Let's silence those that are spreading anti-Semitism by sharing our facts and showing our strength. We can all be a part of the effort to fight hate for good, and as a community, we can unite together learn, and act now.
Thank you so much, Director Wray, for those crucial insights, and to Josh Gad, I am such a fan, for the reminder that we all must refuse to stay silent. And now, as Juju mentioned before, whether you are a parent of a college student, a friend of one, or you walk a college campus yourself, you can't help but be worried by the growing rate of anti-Semitic incidents at universities. The next group of incredible speakers will shed some important light on this issue and discuss how we can balance free speech with a sense of belonging and safety on campus while not tolerating anti-Semitism. Please give a warm welcome to, there's a mouthful here, bear with me, the Vice Chairman of United Talent Agency and Regent of the University of California, Jay Suris. He actually just told me that his name comes from the Yiddish Suris. UCLA student, president of Bruins for Israel and chair of Hillel International, Israel Leadership Network, Jasmine Baruchim. Yes, applause. And executive director of the Academic Engagement Network, Dr. Miriam Ellman. That's an easier name. Welcome to our incredible panel.
Thank you so much for that great introduction. My name is Jay Suris, and I am the vice chairman. You can't hear me. Now you can hear me. I'm the vice chairman of United Talent Agency and one of the gubernatorial appointed regents for the University of California. As many of you know, the University of California has been a hotbed for a number of the anti-Semitic issues, and just in full disclosure, Jonathan Greenblatt asked me to moderate this panel today. We do some consulting work, United Talent Agency for ADL. I wanted that on the table, but I was actually glad to do the panel. A few facts that you should all know. In 2021-22, there were close to 400 anti-Israel incidents on campus. Not all of them were anti-Semitic, but the overwhelming majority of them were. Several of those, several anti-Israel organizations, including Students for Justice in Palestine and the Jewish Voice for Peace, are at the epicenter of many of those events, unfortunately. And the demeaning and ostracization of Zionists and Zionism is clearly on the rise. And it's become more coded, and I put the word coded in quotes, which means it serves as a workaround to being a front for blatant anti-Semitism. My two guests have been introduced today, so I'm not going to introduce you, but they are really so thoughtful in their different areas, and we'll get to them in one moment. I'm going to begin by, I'd love to ask, not that I can see any of you, how many of you have seen the movie American President starring Michael Douglas? Just with a show of hands. Okay. I'm not going to deliver the speech as good as Andrew Shepard, but I'd like you to all listen to it for 1 second. At the end of the movie, he said, America isn't easy. America is advanced citizenship. You've got to want it bad because it's going to put up a fight. It's going to say, you want free speech? Let's see you acknowledge a man whose words make your blood boil, who's standing center stage and advocating at the top of his lungs that for which you would spend a lifetime opposing at the top of your lungs. You want to claim this land as the land of the free, then the symbol of your country cannot just be a flag. The symbol also has to be one of its citizens exercising its right to burn that flag in protest. Now show me that, defend that, celebrate that in your classrooms, then you can stand up and sing about the land of the free. The movie's 27 years old. It still rings true today. And I think with that, Miriam, I'm going to open it up to you and say, this is obviously an issue we're grappling with today. And the question is, how do we protect free speech on campus? How do we protect free speech when people's words make our blood boil? And should the campuses be doing more to intervene on that blood-boiling speech?
Thank you so much, Jay, and thank you for the invitation to join the panel. My organization, AEN and ADL, work frequently together on campus, so it's very much a pleasure to be here today with all of you. Let's get something on the table first, and that's that open inquiry, free expression, particularly on campus, is a bedrock principles. And they need to be championed and fostered on campus. But vandalism, vandalizing Chabad and Hillel property and other Jewish property, throwing rocks at Hillel, which happened a couple months ago, defacing posters that Jewish students put up for their events, shutting down speakers, which happens all the time. None of that, including pervasive harassment, is protected speech. But most anti-Israel, even most virulently anti-Zionist and anti-Israel speech is protected. And on public campuses, it's constitutionally protected. But that doesn't mean that university leaders or faculty should be silent. It doesn't mean they have to be neutral. When Jewish students are maliciously attacked for their identities, leaders need to speak up. University administrators need to speak out the same way they would when other minorities are viciously attacked or harassed.
And I'm going to come back to a portion of that in a second, but I want to go to Jasmine, and I want to say to you, you and I have had a lot of conversations. I met you at a UC Regents meeting once when you were presenting. Could you tell the audience, you go to UCLA, it's in the middle of Westwood, it's a well-protected neighborhood. Do you feel safe? Do you feel less safe today than you did yesterday?
I just want to say thank you so much for having me. It's a true honor, and no, it's a truly difficult time to be a Jewish student on campus. We feel as though we are continuously fighting anti-Semitism alone. It's terrifying to have to admit some of the things that I've seen at UCLA, at some of the most prestigious, at the most prestigious school with the most prestigious professors. There's a saying that I read that anti-Semites don't whisper anymore, they shout, they scream, they feel justified, they feel right to scream about their Jewish hatred that's in their heart. And I've seen it at UCLA, and I think we can all agree in this room that college is a really crazy time for students. It's a time where they're supposed to find themselves, and I have found myself as a senior, graduating in a year, for the past 4 years, continuously fighting anti-Semitism.
Tell the audience, I'm just curious. I mean, everybody's aware of what happened with Kanye West. We've talked about it ad nauseum. We've talked about Kyrie Irving. Here are two guys that have a social media following of north of 100 million followers. Certainly a lot of your friends watch one of them play basketball, buy the other one's clothes, listen to his music.
Yeah.
What's the impact on that? Have you seen a noticeable rise in tension as a result of that? Are people now angry that the ADL has been so forceful in shutting down those negative voices?
I think Kanye West, being the artist that he is, has created a platform. He has more Instagram followers than there are Jews in the world, and it's correct to say that many college students listen to his music. I think that his statements have emboldened anti-Semitism. Just on Halloween, you were seeing people dressing up as Hitler on their college campuses, and you were also seeing the day after on the 405, 15 minutes away from UCLA, a banner saying Kanye was right. And I think that Kanye's actions have had deep consequences for college students, and they are listening and they are acting.
Miriam, you and I have spoken a lot about free speech. You've written about it in many of your works. You know it's a two-way street. We've seen at Berkeley and other campuses the anti-Israel and anti-Zionist protesters. And at the same time, certain groups at Berkeley have actually signed on to this concept of not having anti-Zionist speakers in their group. Do you think, and maybe we can debate it in a second, do you think the universities have the right to ban Zionist speakers? And can the universities take the position that they are discriminating against a protected class, meaning Jewish people, or are these groups just so smart and that they say they don't want speakers based on what I call a particular viewpoint as their workaround for not getting sanctioning? I know it's a long question.
And I hope that people in the audience are aware of what happened at UC Berkeley recently, where a group of 9, now there's 14 student clubs at the law school decided to pass a bylaw where they pledged that there would be no Zionist speakers brought in by their clubs to the campus. And so, you know, I think that the issue here is that for many Jews, and we have good data on that, Zionism is central to their identities. It's as central as keeping kosher or keeping Shabbat. Sure, there are some Jews, a minority, who are anti-Zionist, but the majority we know are Zionists. So what does it mean to say, as a student club, that you will not allow any speaker on whatever topic? Let's say I chose one, 19th century abolitionist lawyers, right? But you also happen to support Israel's right to exist. But that's not your main research. What these groups are saying is that because you support Israel's right to exist and you support self-determination for Jews, and that's central to your identity as a Jew, we are not going to invite you onto our campus to speak no matter what the topic. That is an experience of anti-Semitism, plain and simple. Excluding Zionists is excluding Jews. It's excluding Jewish faculty who can't work with them. It's experienced as anti-Semitism. It's discriminatory. It's bigoted. And what we're worrying about at AEN, Jay and Jasmine, is that this is going to come onto other campuses, that there's going to be Berkeley rules, and other clubs are going to do this at other law schools, so we have to be ready for that.
Just to clarify, from being a regent, I just want to clarify to everybody in the room, there are no Jewish-free zones at Berkeley. I appreciate that the writer wrote that article, but there is no such thing as a Jewish-free zone. There are groups that are preventing Zionist speakers, which is abhorrent, and we're going to deal with it and meet with them, but there are no Jewish-free zones, so people should know that.
And Jay, thank you for your leadership as a regent.
Thank you. It's been incredibly challenging. These groups are very well organized. They are, as Jonathan will tell you, they're incredibly well financed. They're ready to get into a legal battle with us on First Amendment rights. And so we're walking that fine line of how do you allow them to exist? How do you shut them down by allowing them to exist? And that's a common theme that we have at the University of California. Let me just go to Jasmine, and we have a couple more minutes, which is, Jasmine, obviously freedom of speech does not mean freedom to slander. It doesn't mean freedom to hate, and it doesn't mean freedom to discriminate. I'd love you to tell the audience, what are you really seeing? Give a concrete example of what you're seeing on campus and how it directly impacts you and your fellow Jewish students. So people understand what is going on. What are they doing?
So to give a personal example, Hillel at UCLA, as across college campuses, Hillel is the safe haven for Jewish students. It's a place where they go to be supported. And my Hillel was vandalized by the words "Free Palestine from the river to the sea," which is, as we all know, a call for genocide, a call for the destruction of the Jewish state. And when you walk into your home and you see that stained on the walls, there's only a feeling of, where did we go wrong? How did we get here? Yeah. And we're seeing that all over campus, of people shouting, people putting up 7-foot walls during apartheid week, and no other group on campus is getting directly targeted like we are, and I think that is the most challenging thing to grapple with.
Yeah. Marion, you've spent a lot of time talking about the impact that your group has on faculty and staff and training faculty and staff. I know we only have a minute here or so. What actions do you think, not your group, but this audience here, who has college-age students, or either they have them or college-age students that are in the audience, what can you recommend that they do that can make a difference?
You know, we have a situation on a lot of campuses. There are 4,000 campuses in the country. Not all of them are hotbeds of anti-Semitism. But on the 200 or so where most Jewish students matriculate, there is a growing problem. And the problem is not just hostility toward Israel anymore. The problem, as Jasmine is discussing, is a virulent hostility towards Jewish Zionist students and increasingly faculty who are also fearful and are self-censoring, getting into the issue of free speech, right? So we have Jewish faculty who feel afraid to self-identify as proud Zionists. It could affect their professional ability to be promoted, and they face real costs and risks, and they feel that. So what the audience here can do is raise these issues with the administration, send letters, talk to faculty and other organizations that you know who work on the particular campus where you live, because the administrators care about what the Jewish community
I can
thinks.
say we care. Jasmine showed up at a public meeting at the University of California. She got her 1 minute to speak. I was so moved by what she had said. I got out of my seat and met her and her friends at the end of public comment just to talk to them, to hear their point of view. So public comment does matter. Regents, administrators, they do listen. Some of the things they don't listen when the cuckoos come up there. But for the most part, we do listen to just about everything that is said. Other suggestions?
Administrators need to be trained. They need to better understand what anti-Semitism looks like, how it's manifested today. They need to understand how Jewish students like Jasmine are being demoralized for their Zionist identities. They need to understand that equating Zionism with white supremacy, which happened at Harvard Yard this past semester, equating Zionism with racism and genocide is just intolerable. It is unacceptable, and they need to hear from you.
Thank you. One quick question, I'm sorry. I know we're behind, but I have one quick question for you, Miriam, which is, it's kind of an uncomfortable question, and you and I have spoken about it, but there is definitely a correlation between progressivism and anti-Semitism. Certain marginalized groups seem to be some of the biggest offenders of anti-Semitism. People don't want to talk about that. What are you seeing in that area?
Do we have another 20 minutes?
No, but you have 1 minute. And I know it's an uncomfortable question.
It's very painful. I think it's painful for students that we speak with and our faculty speak with, and students like Jasmine, who really want to be part of the causes on campus, whether it's fossil fuel divestment or whether it's a club dealing with sexual assault and violence towards women, LGBTQ, and they're being told that they cannot be part of those causes and campaigns and clubs unless they first disavow their Zionism. And what's really sad is that so many other minority groups have joined this bandwagon in ostracizing, right, and shutting down and shunning fellow Jewish students. And you know, I think part of it is links to the fact that a lot of the national anti-Israel organizations have made it their cause for the last 20 years to equate the Palestinian problem with the problems of racism in this country. And whatever the Israeli-Palestinian issue is, and it's a lot of issues, and we can criticize Israel and we can criticize policies, but whatever it is not a racial conflict. And those kinds of equations are just stupid.
Right.
And they don't belong on campus.
I also agree, you know, just having the last word here. From the University of California standpoint, we are going to institute more training. We are going to we're going to work with the ADL and figure out how to train our students so they understand anti-Semitism better. We are going to aggressively punish bullying and harassment to the extent that it's reported, and we're going to encourage reportment. There's going to be no tolerance for it. This concept of having a litmus test, you got to do this to run for student government. As long as I'm on the Regents, I'm going to fight that left and right. I think it's outrageous and despicable. And I just want to, you know, on the last note, I just want to know that for our students that they're safe. And I think in order to do that, we're going to have a very uncomfortable, vigorous debate and be louder than the other side. It is the only way we're going to win this war in the long run and in the short run. With that, thank you all very much.
Thank you so much for that conversation. It was really an important one, and one that I could listen to from backstage. As a mom of 2 boys in college, I think I shared with you earlier, it's good to have an even better understanding of some of those dynamics at play on campuses. But as a mom of 3 boys, one of whom is still in high school, all of whom wear at times Adidas from head to toe, they call it the 3-stripe life, I was really closely following the story of Ye and Adidas that I'm sure topped everyone's news feeds here. Backstage, you're about to meet a man, Rupert Campbell. He and I have a lot in common. I came to this country when I was 4. He immigrated to London when he was a child, and so we both know what it's like to feel a little bit other. He is now the president of Adidas North America, all the way from Portland, and he's here to share his thoughts on current events and Adidas's role in moving forward with the fight against anti-Semitism, racism, and all forms of hate. Thank you so much for being with us today, Rupert.
So thank you, Juju, and thank you all for welcoming me today. I'm grateful and I'm honored for the opportunity to speak with you all and join such an incredible lineup of speakers and guests discussing a critically important mission that all of us believe in. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Rupert Campbell, and I'm the president of Adidas North America. I've worked with Adidas for around about 10 years now. As Juju said, I'm the proud son of first-generation Caribbean immigrants raised in London. I lived in Germany, Scotland, and prior to relocating to Portland, Oregon, where I currently live, I lived and worked in Russia. I worked in our office in Moscow, and I was a managing director for Adidas, looking after Russia, Ukraine, and Kazakhstan. I would visit Ukraine probably once every 3 months. So I consider myself to be a global citizen. And for me, this means appreciating the unique backgrounds and perspectives of all people. But most of all, standing for love and against all forms of hate. It also means making sure our team members in Adidas feel a strong sense of belonging and doing everything I can do to ensure we never lose touch of our company values. This is why I feel privileged to properly introduce the company that I am proud to be a part of, Adidas. I will tell you who we are and what we believe in. We're a global sports brand, as you all know. We exist to inspire and enable athletes and their communities to use the power of sport to change lives. Indeed, our mission is, through sport, we have the power to change lives. Sport plays an incredibly important role in our lives, as we all know. It unites us in ways that little else can, bringing people together as teammates, as fans, as communities, in neighborhoods all around the world. Sport even unites us across our differences. This is a quality I believe we need now more than ever before. Sport also provides a stage where society and culture can play out. When the actions of society are at odds with the values of sport, we at Adidas feel a responsibility to use our influence and our voice to push and push for change. At Adidas, we are guided by our values of fairness, mutual respect, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. There is no place for anti-Semitism, racism, and hatred within sport, within Adidas, or within society. And we in Adidas, we fully understand that this may not be apparent to many of you, given the recent events. But let me address that. First, we acknowledge that we don't always get things right. We are not perfect. But in this case, we know without a doubt we made the right decision. We know that without a doubt. The racist and anti-Semitic hate speech by our former partner violated our values. We took action to begin dismantling the partnership. This took time, given the complexity of the partnership. But we remain committed to living our values. We will continue to advocate for expanding access to sport and protecting it as a safe and fair place and space for all. We'll continue to empower athletes and communities to use sport to change lives and to unite us all over our differences. And we're grateful. We are grateful and humbled by our collaboration with the ADL. Thank you, Jonathan. I really do want to thank you and the rest of the ADL team. We value this partnership very much. Thank you for your guidance. Thank you for your commitment to protecting our global communities. We share in your spirit of never is now and fully align ourselves with the work that you do and the messages that you share. And I want to say this very loud and clear to everybody. We continue to stand with the Jewish community in the fight against anti-Semitism. And all communities around the world who face injustice and discrimination. And as ever, I finally want to say to all of you here today, and as ever, we pledge through the products that we make, the stories that we tell, and the actions that we take, we want everybody to understand that we stand for love. We stand for love and against all forms of hate, always. So in conclusion, I thank you all. I thank you all for your time. I thank you all for the warm reception you've given me here today. But most of all, I thank you all for the partnership, which we will do big things with. Thank you.
We like your footwear, Rupert. And I just want you to understand that Jonathan Greenblatt is sporting a brand new pair of Adidas sneakers as well. You can mention it to him in the breakout. I'm sure he'll enjoy that. I genuinely want to thank you, Rupert, for your presence and for your remarks and for the reminder of the importance and the responsibility that corporations have when it comes to addressing the alarming normalization of hate that we're seeing more and more in the public sphere. We're now about to hear from our final speakers of the morning, but before that, I want to give you a preview, a look forward to, throughout the day, the various panels that we're going to have. In these panels, you'll hear about incredible work that ADL and partner organizations and others are doing to address hate of all kinds. These panel topics, and I'm sure you can look them up, will range from breakthroughs in the fight against anti-Semitism and hate, how college students, this is an extension of this conversation, are combating extremism on campus, a behind-the-scenes look at the work of ADL's Center on Extremism. They have hotspots on maps. It's very exciting. There will be conversations about the recent midterm election results, a hot topic, and more. So please check your program on the Never Is Now app for the upcoming breakout session schedule. You can also find a printout version, the analog version of the day's agenda, in our information booth if you want to go there. Throughout the day, you'll be given a number of ways that you can take action. At the Action Center, you can take part in activities that ADL experts have put together, like how to spot a hate symbol, for example, with an app powered by the ADL Center on Extremism, or how to report online hate with the Center for Technology and Society. And jumping ahead a couple of hours as a preview, I'm sure you're eager to hear about who will be joining us in the afternoon session. This year's closing session, we'll hear from Pfizer Chairman and CEO, and this year's Courage Against Hate Award, Albert Bourla. David Schwimmer, aka Ross Geller, from the hit television series Friends, will be on stage. We'll be joined by Ruth Marcus, Brett Stevens, and Eugene Robinson to discuss and analyze the recent midterm elections, and Congresswoman Liz Cheney, chair of the Jewish Agency for Israel. We'll also be joined by Doron Almog and more. And don't worry, I know you're worried. No, you're not worried. The ADL would never let you go hungry throughout a day like this. So there's going to be kosher style, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, all the options. You'll be available for lunch. You can grab them in either sessions 2A or 2B, and there's going to be plenty of spots to sit and eat and break more ice with your new friends in this hall. Thanks so much for joining us today, and see you back here in the afternoon on the main stage at 4:15. But remember to use the app and head to the info booth for details on today's events. So now, you're not leaving yet. One more beautiful discussion is ahead. We're going to welcome to the stage 3 exemplary leaders who will be touching on how anti-Semitism is manifesting across the globe. We are so fortunate to have with us today Marie van der Zyl, President of the Board of Deputies of British Jews, Fernando Lautenberg, OAS Commissioner to monitor and combat anti-Semitism, and lastly, Boris Loskin, President of Jewish Confederation of Ukraine. So now let's give a warm welcome first to Marie.
Thank you, friends. I'm so delighted to be here today. My name is Marie van der Zyl, and I am the elected president of the Board of Deputies of British Jews and the second woman since 1760. Thank you. And I'm the first Conservative president as well who goes to a Reform synagogue. The Board of Deputies is the UK's representative body, and it's the first port of call for government, media, and other faith communities that seek to understand the needs and the views of the UK Jewish community. And we have many views. British Jews are largely accepted in British society. It's a good place to live. But anti-Semitism, undoubtedly, is still a major issue for our community and a central pillar, unfortunately, of our work. Recent years have seen some record highs in terms of numbers of anti-Semitic incidents. And I'm going to give you just a few examples, but I could be here all day. Anti-Semites, they often seize on the pretext of the Israel-Palestinian conflict to provide an excuse for their anti-Jewish racism, anti-Semitism. And during the Israel conflict in May 2021, astonishingly, a convoy of cars flying the Palestinian flag drove through areas of North London with very large numbers of Jewish communities. There was a loudspeaker in the car, and they were shouting. It was frightening. Kill the Jews, rape their daughters. We couldn't believe that this was happening on London streets. Last November, there was another incident on Oxford Street. It's London's version of Fifth Avenue. And it was a bus full of young Jewish people celebrating Hanukkah, minding their own business. And they were attacked by some yobs, screaming, shouting abuse, making Nazi salutes. And before we knew it, this was all over the news, being reported by the BBC. But regretfully, the incident, the BBC also disgracefully claimed that there were Islamophobia and Islamophobic comments coming from inside the bus. And we were forced to get evidence from video professionals and a forensic report to disprove and challenge this reporting. But the damage was done. There wasn't an apology, so we made a complaint to Ofcom, which is the UK's regulator. And this week, they finally came out with their judgment. They seriously criticised the BBC editorial misjudgment, and they said that the BBC had failed to observe its editorial guidelines on due impartiality and accuracy. Thank you. That really was a very big challenge, and we haven't yet received an apology from the BBC, but I'm sure you'll read about this on an ongoing basis. The Labour Party, you know all our woes in the UK from the 15 to 2020, under the leadership of Jeremy Corbyn. He brought anti-Semitism from the fringes of society right to the mainstream of the community. It wasn't exclusively connected, the anti-Semitism, to Israel, but it was often there. The current leadership, Keir Starmer, has worked very hard to repudiate this toxic legacy, but this vile anti-Semitism is still there among the grassroots, and this is going to be part of a very long journey. Online is the new front line in the fight against anti-Semitism, and we continue to see issues of despicable anti-Semitism and Holocaust denial on many of the large social media platforms. And we all know that the response from these companies, well, sluggish at best is all we can say, and that is a whole book of work worldwide. Now, our government is currently considering legislation meant to improve online safety, and we are keen to ensure that media companies do not get a free pass to hate. And we believe that a large part of what drives anti-Semitism is ignorance. And that's why I'm delighted to tell you that the Board of Deputies is partnering with ADL on an ambitious digital education initiative, which will enable us to offer engaging and authoritative resources for our schools to help improve awareness about Jewish identity, culture, and diversity. And it will teach school students aged between 11 to 16 on how to be an ally in the fight against anti-Semitism. And I want to thank ADL. This is ADL working in partnership, and this will crucially help build a better and a more tolerant society. And the whole project fills me with a real sense of hope about a subject that can often feel overwhelming, especially to young adults. I also feel a real sense of pride from standing here before you today, and thank you for all your support. I'm really grateful for you having me, and I wish every success for the conference. And if I'm walking around, I'm really happy to talk to any of you. So thank you, everyone, and have a good day. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague.
Good morning. First of all, I would like to thank ADL for having me here today as the first commissioner to monitor and combat anti-Semitism for the Organization of the American States, a role. This role was created by OAS Secretary General Luis Almagro in June 2021, and I was appointed last November. The OAS brings together all the 35 independent states of the Americas and constitutes the main political, legal, and social governmental forum in the Western Hemisphere. Our mandate to combat anti-Semitism includes structuring a framework to collect incidents in the region, reviewing court decisions and governmental policies, to increase awareness of anti-Semitic incidents and the dangers they pose to democracy in the region, encourage member states to adopt the IHRA working definition of anti-Semitism, already adopted by the OAS itself. I see the role of a commissioner as an excellent opportunity to move the conversation on anti-Semitism from the sphere of the Jewish communities to the broader society with a regional and supranational approach, because anti-Semitism cannot be seen as a phenomenon that happens in a vacuum. It is a symptom of deeper ills that should be seen as a threat to democracy because it treats Jews differently than the others, and a violation of human rights. My friends, there are historical facts that are unique to Latin America. Our region was founded with the backdrop of the Inquisition, Spanish and Portuguese, which influenced the local perception of the Jews. And the relationship between the Catholic Church and Judaism was reset only 55 years ago with the Second Vatican Council and Nostra Aetate. Latin America also became a route of escape to former Nazi criminals after World War II, especially in Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, and Paraguay. Some of the current challenges we face are, first, the mainstreaming of white supremacy and the delegitimization of Israel, and anti-Semitism being normalized as a legitimate discourse and used as a political tool in a fight against the other side, left versus right, and vice versa. Identity politics, with the extreme right not seeing Jews as sufficiently white, while the far left views Jews as privileged whites. And last but not least, the threat posed by Iran and its proxy Hezbollah operating in the region. But not everything is bad news. There are some positive initiatives developed in the region in the recent years. The Jewish Federation of Brazil produced a guide to identify hate speech, helping police officers, prosecutors, and judges to classify it and sanction it. We signed memorandum of understandings with social media companies so that Jewish organizations could become trusted flaggers for swift removal of anti-Semitic content. The Brazilian Supreme Court equated anti-Semitism and racial insults to racism, meriting in this way a more severe treatment and legal sanctions. And many countries in the region adopted the IHRA definition in varying degrees, such as Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and already during our mandate in the last months, Guatemala and Colombia. Mandatory Holocaust education in Brazilian schools, with efforts to expand in other countries, is already a reality. And a bill in the Brazilian Senate was approved to regulate fake news and hate speech on social media, pending approval of our House of Representatives. Ladies and gentlemen, I was recently asked to testify at the US Congress and the Interparliamentary Task Force on Global Online Antisemitism, and was grateful then and now to lean on ADL's expertise as a global leader in combating anti-Semitism and join forces to collaborate. While there is still work to do, we unequivocally stand together to ensure that Jews can live safely and securely in our region for the years to come. Thank you very much. And I would like now to call my friend and colleague, Boris Loshkin, from the country where my grandmothers came from and which is suffering a war of aggression in the last months, from Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!
Dear friends, first of all, I would like to say thank you, Jonathan and the ADL team, for having me here. And we are saying today, never is now. It should never have happened. We believed it would never happen during the last 80 years. Alas, we have to admit that it's happening just now. Let me give you several quotes. Ukrainians must be killed, killed, killed. This is my opinion as a professor. One more quote. Just drown those children, drown them, shove them into spruce forest huts, nail the doors, shut and burn them down. This country should not exist. And the third quote, Ukraine and Ukrainians must be eliminated. The sooner we start doing this, the fewer Ukrainians will be born. This is happening not during World War II. It is happening now, in the 21st century. The first quote is an appeal of one of Russian main ideologists. The other two quotes are the words of leading Russian propagandists. It's not just words. Thousands of civilians are killed in Ukraine today only because they are citizens of Ukraine. The world has seen uncompromising evidence of these massacres of non-combatants in Bucha, Irpin, Izium. The latter is only 100 kilometers from my native Kharkov. And today, its genocide is terrible, but its genocide is terrible in a sort of way. We can't compare the Holocaust with what is happening in Ukraine now. But at the same time, the genocidal nature of Russians' war against Ukraine is no doubt. Russia kills citizens of Ukraine only because they love their country, because they are patriotic citizens of my Ukraine. This is the genocide of Ukrainian political nation, and among the victims there are hundreds and most likely thousands of ethnic Jews. How many Jewish lives has the Russian aggression taken? We will end it out only after the liberation of all the occupied territories. New evidence of Russian crimes is revealed in every city, town or village that the Ukrainian military liberate, and the number of innocent victims is growing. The genocide of Ukrainian political nation is taking place in the background of blinding hatred for everything Ukrainian, hatred unprecedented in the 21st century, hatred that literally kills. At this difficult time for Ukraine and for Ukrainian Jews, I want to thank everyone in this room who supports Ukraine, but also want to ask you to keep on with your support. Please keep on supporting as actively as you can. The bipartisan and two-chamber support of the Congress is extremely important to us. The financial, military, humanitarian aid provided by Jews from the whole world is extremely important for us. At the same time, we also ask you to use all your influence additionally to humanitarian aid, and push Israel also provides the military one. all this necessary to stop and defeat the aggressor, who decided to return the world 2 years back in time to the time of hatred. Thank you for your attention.
40 years ago, ADL honored me. I didn't really know at the time what ADL was, and I went to the event to get my award, and I listened to the testimony, and when time came for me to go on stage, something happened that changed my life. It is the first time that I ever said in public, not only the first time I ever said it, but the first time I ever thought it. I said to the crowd, "You all know me because of my dresses. What you don't know is 18 months before I was born, my mother was in Auschwitz." And to hear myself say that shocked me. And that day I realized that it was important to talk about it. It was important for people to know that my mother was a survivor. She was lucky to be a survivor. So it is important to use our voice. It is important to use love to fight hate.
It's been a moving morning and stirring words from a woman who is truly a legend. It's especially meaningful to hear those words as we just mark the 84th anniversary of Kristallnacht. Thank you to all of our incredible speakers this morning for this kickoff to start our day together. The first breakout sessions I mentioned will begin shortly, so please make your way to the breakout rooms in that direction. Abby and I will see you back here at 4:15 for a very special closing session that I know you won't want to miss. Enjoy your day.
On time with all of our lovely speakers this morning, so please make your way directly to the breakout rooms. Thank you.